and welcome to Health and Lifestyle, the program that brings you all matters health, including real-life stories of lived experience and experts to break down some of the conditions that we'll be covering for you. My name is Marie Yambo. Our social media handles at KBC Channel 1 on X and KBC Channel 1 TV on Facebook is where to interact with us. Cervical cancer. It's preventable, it's treatable, but it can also impact a woman's ability to have children. So what's the connection between cervical cancer and fertility? And how can early detection make a difference? I'll be unpacking all that in the program as we hear from survivors and advocates. And also, we speak to Father Charles Chilufya on the church's role in healthcare. Coming up in the program.
Akanipatia option kama wanaweza kutoa tu pale mahali, ndiposa naweza kuzaa. Waliniambia naweza kuzaa. Lakini chances ya ugonjwa huu kurioka, yani kujirudia, inakuwa juu.
From survivor to advocate, we bring you the inspiring story of a cervical cancer champion.
Early detection, early diagnosis and treatment can't lead to infertility.
Can women still get pregnant after cancer? We explore how cancer and its treatment can affect fertility.
It is true that prayer is effective and just healed people and there were miracles, yeah? But it is very true also that God has given us knowledge, scientific knowledge.
And the church and healthcare, an unseen force. We highlight how faith communities are stepping up in the fight against cervical cancer. First things first, Emily Wekesa is a mother, a cervical cancer champion, using her story to raise awareness about cervical cancer and the HPV vaccine. Her journey began in 2020 during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, when what she thought were just painful, irregular periods turned out to be something far more serious. Let's hear her story.
Kabla nijulikane kuwa nina hii shida, nilikuwa siku zangu za hedhi. Zilikuwa ni siku ambazo hazikuwa za kawaida sana. Nilikuwa napata siku zangu maybe mara 2, mara 3 kwa mwezi, na zinapotoka zilikuwa zinatoka nyingi, nzito, na nilikuwa na maumivu sana. But kwa wakati huu ambao ni mwaka wa 2020 wakati wa COVID, huo mwezi wa pili ilikuja kwa fujo sana. Kwa hivyo nilipata hedhi zangu zikiwa si za kawaida, na ule uchungu ulipitiliza. Nikaweza kwenda hospitali. Nilipofika hospitali nikapitishwa kwa vipimo vingi.
After multiple tests, she received the news no one wants to hear.
Baada ya wiki chache nikaweza kugunduliwa kuwa nilikuwa na saratani ya shingo ya kizazi, ambapo nilikuwa nimefika stage 2D. Mara kwanza nililia, na ule daktari alinisikia nikisema mimi najua nafa. Manake nilikaa na nikajikataa kujikubali, na nilikuwa nakaa naona sanduku langu linavyopitishwa, na akili yangu iliruka. Nikaanza kuandika my urology, I started preparing my own funeral. Nikasema nikienda watu wasipate tabu, acha nifanye yale ninaweza fanya, pia niache nimewatayarisha. Kwa hivyo wale madaktari waliweza kuniambia ugonjwa huu unatibika.
A sickle cell trait had already weakened Emily's immune system, and despite this, she endured a grueling treatment that included chemotherapy, radiotherapy, blood transfusions, and eventually surgery.
Huyu mnyama aliponivamia, daktari aliweza kunipatia option. Akanipatia option kama wanaweza kutoa tu pale mahali, ndiposa naweza kuzaa. Waliniambia naweza kuzaa. Lakini chances ya ugonjwa huu kurioka, yani kujirudia, inakuwa juu. Na ya pili, wanaweza kutoa kizazi chote ambapo sitaweza kuzaa, lakini chances ya ugonjwa kurudi pia inashuka, the percentage zinashuka. Nani anataka urudi jamani? Kwa hivyo hapo niliamua, na mimi na mume wangu, sikuamua peke yangu, kwa ajili ya hali, na Mungu ametujalia watoto wawili, tukasema tutashukuru. Kwa hivyo nikaweza kutoa kile kizazi.
Emily says the experience was the most painful of her life, but also a turning point.
Hakika ilikuwa na maumivu makubwa sana. mwili wangu ulibadilika, nilipoteza vitu vingi, nilipoteza wakati mwingi. Lakini namshukuru Mwenyezi Mungu, leo nipo na bado naweza kushuhudia kwa ugonjwa huu unatibika, bora ugunduliwe mapema.
Now in remission, Emily is determined to spare others the suffering she went through. She spreads the word about the HPV vaccine, which can prevent cervical cancer before it even starts.
Kama vile tunavyoambiwa, cervical cancer, it is the only cancer which is preventable. Hii ni saratani peke yake ambayo imeonekana inaweza kuzuilika. Na tunazuilia saratani kivipi? Jambo la kwanza kwa hawa wasichana wetu, manake sisi hatukuwa na hiyo opportunity, ni HPV vaccine. HPV vaccine ndio mwanzo wa kuzuia saratani. Na haya yote yanayozungumziwa mtaani ni kutofahamu. Lakini naomba kuambia watazamaji ama wasikilizaji hivi, HPV vaccine inasaidia huyu msichana. Haina virusi vya saratani, ila inamsaidia yule msichana kuboresha ile immune system, kinga yake ya mwili iwe nzito.
Emily's generation was not lucky to have the access to the HPV vaccine, and her own experience, she hopes, could serve as a reminder for mothers and guardians to have their daughters vaccinated.
Manake mimi na imani ningegunduliwa mapema, singechukua muda mwingi kufanya haya matibabu, ningechukua muda mfupi na mabi singepitia makali yote ya radio, kimo na kutolewa uzazi. Mimi ningeomba tu wazazi tuweze kupatia nafasi wasichana wetu waweze kupata hii vaccine. Hiyo ni la kwanza. La pili, pia wasichana wenyewe waweze kuelewa iwapo watapata isikue wanapata HPV vaccine lakini hawana maelezo zaidi. Wamepata ndio, alafu waone wako na kinga basi waende kufanya yale maneno. Hapana, waweze pia kupata, waelimishwe.
When we think about health, we often picture doctors, nurses, hospitals, and medicine. But there's another critical partner in the health space that sometimes goes unrecognized, the church, that is. In Kenya and in many African countries, the church operates up to 60% of health facilities, including hospitals, dispensaries, clinics, and laboratories. That makes it one of the most influential players in ensuring that healthcare is not just available, but also accessible as a fundamental human right. Father Charles Chilufya is the director of the Africa Health and Economic Transformation Initiative, AHETI, a Pan-African faith-based initiative, and he explains how the church works in providing healthcare across the continent.
We bring together actors who are in the hospitals, who are in the clinics and on the ground, working with people, and we work on programs in that regard. But we also bring actors who bring the knowledge, the analysis to the field of health, and also those who, using the knowledge and the concrete action on the ground now, build advocacy to ensure that we have the right policies, we have the right frameworks, we have the right systems in countries, but also on the continent and globally, to ensure that health is indeed accessed by all and quality health.
One of the most pressing challenges today is cervical cancer, a disease that affects thousands of women and girls, often in silence. Beyond the physical toll, many face stigma, loneliness, and financial hardship. Some even begin to ask, why me? This is where the church steps in, not just with medicine, but with prayer, counseling, and advocacy.
The church is very present in the field of health at various levels. The church, as you know, runs various infrastructure places and outfits to provide health. Hospitals, clinics, dispensaries, and several outfits. Yeah? We carry the mission of Jesus, who went about preaching but also healing disease. He came to confront things that impede human dignity and human life, including disease. He cured, he healed people. And we carry that mission from various perspectives, including leveraging and using medical science, because the church believes in the relationship between faith and reason. They go together. And reason or medical science provides us the know-how, the knowledge in regard to how we deal with disease. And that's why the church has laboratories, the church has hospitals, the church has clinics, dispensaries, and all manner of things. Cervical cancer and cancer in general is a very serious disease that demands a lot of interventions other than medicine. It requires a lot of money, for example, to buy medicines and to ensure that the person has the requisite help, the medicines, the food, and several other things. And also the support. People suffering from these things feel lonely. And cervical cancer, the other aspect is that it can not only be lonely, but because of the way it affects a human being, there's shame attached to it. There's isolation, yeah? And that's where we come in, that there's somebody suffering in body. The pain is harsh. The pain is real, and somebody is suffering in body. We are concerned. Somebody is losing and spending finances that should have gone to food, to school fees. They are now going to health, and somebody is being impoverished because of their situation. That is where we get concerned. And we do not only move to provide the medicine, but we also ensure that there are other facilities, public facilities, where they can be helped. That is why we do advocacy. But this is an issue in the community. That is why we mobilize community members to sensitize, but also to mobilize support for people who are suffering so that they receive the necessary help. So the feeling of compassion we have is part of our faith. Yeah, like Jesus felt pity, felt compassion for those who are suffering. And that is how we reach out to our people.
About 3,500 women die annually from cervical cancer in Kenya, with 119,000 cases across Africa. Now, the World Health Organization has outlined a strategy to eliminate cervical cancer known as the 90-70-90 targets. By 2030, 90% of girls should be vaccinated against HPV, 70% of women should be screened, and 90% of those diagnosed should receive appropriate treatment. However, the HPV vaccine uptake in Africa has been slow.
In Africa, when it comes to vaccination, screening, there's a very slow uptake. People generally feel what you don't know, better rest you don't know it. What you don't know doesn't kill, okay? But we want to go around that and work with our people to show that when they know a situation, then they're able to deal with it, nip it in the bud before it becomes a big problem. That's why we're promoting early screening and also vaccination. As you know, vaccination is a gift. It's a miracle that has done a lot to remove disease, eradicate disease. The polio vaccination, recently we had COVID vaccination, now we're talking about HPV vaccination. And we are aware that there are concerns around HPV vaccination regarding, will it sterilize girls? Is it safe to take? What does it do to the human body? And the church is not blind, or the church is not just adamant. The church makes effort. Even us in the church, we make effort to have dialogue, conversation with scientists, yeah, in regard to the process of how these vaccines are made and how they are provided for use, how they are adopted by governments, and how they are deployed. It's a very rigorous process. That is why I spoke about the Nairobi convening, where we brought together scientists, researchers, policymakers, faith leaders, plus theologians, to look at all the issues surrounding HPV vaccination, all the issues surrounding screening. Are they okay? Are they safe? And as the bishop said, ensuring that they promote the human dignity and life that we intend to promote. We were sure that so far the vaccines we have in Kenya are safe because we are talking to government institutions that are about safety, government institutions that adopt these vaccines and accept them to be used by the Kenyan people. And we have examples of those who have also been vaccinated.
As Father Charles reminds us, prayer is powerful, but so is the knowledge and innovation.
It is true that prayer is effective and just healed people, and there were miracles, yeah? But it is very true also that God has given us knowledge, scientific knowledge, which we in the faith-based communities and organizations, we believe as a church is a great gift of God, knowledge. Yeah? St. John Paul II, he issued an important letter to teach all Christians about the relationship between faith and science. The letter was called Fide et Ratio, faith and reason, where he shows us that faith and reason go together. Sometimes faith needs the light of and the help of science. So there, faith, we will listen to what science is teaching. But also science does not have it all. Science can be lacking. And in cases like the diseases we're dealing with, cancer, the problems are still there that science has failed to resolve. That is why we need the resources of faith, okay? And pray that God himself may act, may bring about a healing, may bring about the solutions we need.
And on that note, we take our first break. When we come back, we hear from a nurse on the importance of HPV vaccine. Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. The impact of cancer on a woman's ability to get pregnant really depends on the type of cancer and the kind of treatment she receives. If the cancer is detected early and treated promptly, many women can still conceive and carry a pregnancy. Skofi Ombasa is a registered nurse and she explains.
Early diagnosis and treatment starts with screening. So if we screen all these women of reproductive health and we find that she's in stage 1 or stage 2 and we start treatment, they can get healed, and then there is follow-up by the gynecologist in order for this woman to conceive.
However, she adds, it all depends on how far the cancer has spread.
We call it metastasis. That's the spread of the virus of the cancer. And that's why I said earlier, early detection, early diagnosis and treatment can't lead to infertility. What can lead into infertility is late diagnosis and the type of treatment of this woman is getting. If one is getting treatment like radiation, they are too strong for this woman even to conceive the baby. Maybe if she conceives, she can't carry the baby to term. Then there is hysterectomy. The hysterectomy is the removal of the uterus. So definitely this woman can't get pregnant.
Skofi also highlights a major concern, the low uptake of HPV vaccine in many communities.
Okay, the uptake of the HPV vaccine is low. Reason being, there are myths and conception out there. Others are saying they are family planning method. Others like brings infertility. So there is myths and conception out there. There is lack of knowledge, there is lack of awareness to our mothers, to our parents out there.
She explains that the HPV vaccine, the human papillomavirus vaccine, is designed to protect girls from certain types of viruses known to cause cervical cancer and other conditions.
Yeah, so it's an immunity acquired. It's like you get a flu vaccine to protect you. So when you have the vaccine, the side effect won't be severe. So when you receive the HPV, all our girls get the HPV virus and get infected of the HPV virus, the immunity will detect we are familiar with this virus. so it will get rid of the virus.
The vaccine is given as an injection for girls 9 to 14 years, free of charge in government health facilities.
So the HPV vaccine, it comes with one dosage in a vial. So we inject at the hand, the deltoid muscle. You receive a jab. So side effect, there are others who can have the side effects, and the others who don't. Maybe feel the heaviness of the hand, or mild pain. So it depends with your body how it will respond.
She believes the vaccine is an essential step towards a healthier future, and she has a message for parents.
The importance of it prevents or protects our young ladies in the future from cancer. So in 2040, we want to reduce the number of cervical cancer cases in our community, in our country. So if we get this age gap and we inject them, I believe we are going to reduce those cases in future.
We've come to the end of the program. As always, thank you for your time and your company and for always participating in the program. My name is Marie Yambo, and on behalf of everyone who made this program possible, of course, the production team and our guest, Father Charles Chilufya, Emily Wekesa for sharing her story, and Nurse Skofi Ombasa. Until next time, my name is Marie Yambo, and I hope to see you again next time.